In your professional life right now, talking about marketing and business overall, what do you think are the most exciting things that you are thinking about that are really exciting, not just hype?
Internationalization. A lot of companies talk about being global, but very few companies actually spend the money and the resources to be global. The money is not in the US or not in Europe or Asia or Africa or Latin America. The money is everywhere. You pretty much have to be global to do well. You know, people talk about AI right now. I think people overestimate what they can do with AI in the short run. They underestimate it in the long run. They're thinking about AI, at least in marketing, the wrong way. They think about it in content creation. Content's already easy to create and cheap.
Hi, Neil.
Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
How was, you just spoke at Brand Minds?
Yeah, that was good.
You just finished an hour ago, I think. Maybe let's start there. What did you talk about, and
just
how was the experience?
The experience was great. Talked about general marketing and ways to attract more customers and strategies that people can use.
And when you attend, I think it was like maybe 2, 3, 4, I'm not even sure, like thousands and thousands of people. It was a big crowd, very mixed crowd.
Big crowd, very mixed. People from 80 countries. I think there was like 5,000 attendees is what they said, somewhere around there, maybe more.
And when you think about a speech for them, like how can you come up with something that's like valuable to 5,000 people from like 17 different types of roles and all these things?
So typically when I speak at an event, I'll come up with stuff, or the conference will tell me what they want me to speak on. And this time the conference provided what they wanted me to speak on. They told me to create a presentation on different marketing tactics that people can use to attract thousands of customers.
Awesome, cool. And we were just talking about this pre-show. Like you just flew from Las Vegas through like a 20-hour flight, got here, massive jet lag, 21 hours.
Something like that, because my flight I had a connection in Heathrow, London, and it was delayed quite a bit.
And did you spend the night in London, or just
no,
a couple hours?
More than a couple hours, but I just stayed there and waited until my flight to Romania. And then when I got here, they couldn't figure out how to get the air ramp to work. So then eventually they brought stairs and then loaded us onto buses, and that took another 30 minutes extra.
And right after this, you're gonna get some rest and fly all the way to the other side of the world again.
Yeah.
And like how, because my question around this is like, I know last time we chatted, you had the agency, I think it was doing maybe 10, 15, 20 million a year. Right now it's like way, maybe 20 times that size. I don't even know. But like, how's your life like now? Do you just spend your time doing this all the time and being jet lag 50% of the year? Like, how's your life looking
this week
like?
was Romania, last week was, or this week Bucharest, last week Berlin, week before London. So yeah, you get used to it after a while.
And this is something you enjoy doing, and it's like right up on what you want to do.
I have fun, yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy it generally. Sorry for yawning, but generally cool. I enjoy it.
Awesome, super. So for people watching, also listening, can you talk a little bit? So we chatted in 2017 last time at some small conference, smaller compared to this, in Bucharest. How's your overall kind of like business looking at now? What are you involved in? I think, so obviously the agency, obviously
still the
software.
Agency. So NP Digital, we're a global agency. We're continually expanding into more and more countries. And yeah, we're having fun doing it. The agency has some software divisions, Ubercitas, Answer the Public. But yeah, just having fun.
And all your work is basically around brand ambassadorship and bringing kind of like awareness to these topics and the businesses that you're in.
Most of my work is actually strategy, dealing with the business, customers. You have to keep in mind, even if I'm traveling here to Romania from Las Vegas, the talk is only an hour. I have all that time to work on the plane, work in the airports, do phone calls. While I'm here, I stay on Pacific Standard Time. I still do my daily phone calls and meetings and stuff like that. So most of my time is spent in the business, not really brand ambassador type of stuff. But I do that as well. That probably makes up 10% of my work.
Because when I was looking at your kind of org chart, You have CEOs, very experienced people.
Yeah.
So you're still involved strategy, and I'm assuming that's how you keep like kind of the pulse of the market. Because what I was thinking today, I haven't, for example, done ads myself in like 5 years. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I still do them. I love it.
And you're like involved in the trenches, looking at data, figuring out stuff, optimizing things.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So,
I don't really manage people though, so that part I don't have to
the
do.
business operations, someone is taking care of. That's a very good thing. Awesome. So, in your professional life right now, talking about marketing and business overall, what do you think are the most exciting things that you are thinking about that are really exciting, not just hype? We're going to talk about AI as well, just because everyone it's just the way it works. People like trends, but what are the most exciting things to you that you think are important right now and that you're thinking about when it comes to marketing and maybe business overall? But let's stay with marketing first.
Internationalization. A lot of companies talk about being global, but very few companies actually spend the money and the resources to be global. The money is not in the US or not in Europe or Asia or Africa or Latin America. The money is everywhere. You pretty much have to be global to do well. That's a big thing that's always on our mind. The other thing that is always on our mind too is efficiencies. You know, people talk about AI right now. I think people overestimate what they can do with AI in the short run. They underestimate it in the long run. But they're thinking about AI, at least in marketing, the wrong way. They think about it in content creation. Content's already easy to create and cheap. You know, over $200 billion a year is being spent on ads. Imagine if in real time you can have AI analyze your analytics, figure out where there's wastage, and you reallocate and you shift spend in real time. You know how much money people would save? There's bigger opportunities at AI in marketing than what most people are thinking. Most people just think about content creation.
So obviously people think like, oh, I'm just going to write all my website content with AI, but
which doesn't really work, because the way AI works is it scrapes the web, creates an index, you have everything that's old, it's using that to write whatever you asked it to write on, which means whatever your new content is on is technically really old because it's using old, outdated information. Even if it is only 3 months old or 1 month old, it's not new, fresh stuff. People want to read new, fresh stuff, not regurgitated stuff.
So if everyone can do the same thing, it's not really worth anything.
Correct.
Awesome. And what are the use cases that you think are important? So people that could be listening either have some type of e-commerce business or digital business, or agency owners. And both of them can have like a grip of what they could do to optimize their processes with AI or ChatGPT or whatever. What do you think are some use cases?
Processes, reporting, crunching data. I was speaking at an event in London a few weeks ago and asked the audience, how many of you guys log into your analytics on a daily basis and make informed decisions based on it? I think only like 3 people out of the whole crowd raised their hand. It's a very, very, very small percentage. There was hundreds of people in the audience, to give you a perspective. That's one of the biggest opportunities. Systems and processes, like we already mentioned. Time will tell on a lot of the other stuff, a lot of A/B testing, iterations. It's really hard for a human to make 1,000 variations and do testing on that, easier for AI. But you also have issues of a lot of people won't have the traffic and the volume to actually do that many simultaneously tests to figure out what's working and what's not.
And do you think when you're looking at all these things that AI could do, are you having a hard time, obviously with like bigger clients maybe, but in your agency, these are like boring things, like data infrastructure, having your data clean so that AI can work with it.
Depends who you talk to. Some people love it, but yeah.
So some people, but do most do? Because
the data stuff, a lot of people love. Most people don't enjoy the processes. Probably most people don't enjoy the data end as well. Some people do. But yeah, those are all things that could be automated. And you can be, right now, you can't automate it fully. You can use AI to give you better informed decisions. The reason you can't automate it all, like you can't just, if you start a new campaign today, even if it goes for a week, a lot of times it takes a lot longer than that for campaigns to really get in their groove and work. And if they tells you, hey, it doesn't work, well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Or ones if that campaign was mainly for branding and top of funnel and you know you're not going to get conversions, it's you have to create a lot of rules, and a lot of it is up to the marketer on what they want to do or don't want to do, because a lot of times there is no right or wrong in marketing. A lot of things is like, some of it is just honestly gut feeling. If you look at a lot of the branded campaigns out there, a lot of that is just gut feeling.
On the creative side.
On the creative side and running it, and a lot of times you're running those ads and you're not making any sales. Nike spends tons of money on advertising each and every single year. A lot of those campaigns generate no ROI, but it gets their brand out there, and in the long run, that brand is what helped build a massive company.
And what do you see the biggest difference between the big brands that are investing into growing their brand, growing their kind of like overall top of funnel, whereas most businesses, at least as far as I know, are very, very focused on making sure everything gets attributed, everything can be tracked through a very short time window. What do you see the biggest difference between those two? Is it one better than the other? Or should one learn from the other?
Larger companies usually have a much longer time before they need to make a ROI. Smaller companies, bootstrap companies, startups typically want a quicker return because they also don't have as much cash. Depends on the business type. That's what we usually see. The KPIs really adjust based on the business type. Mm-hmm. They all want more sales. That's a given. But how do you get those sales? The larger corporations are more flexible. Of course, if someone has $10 billion in their bank account, they're going to be more flexible than a startup with $1 million, right?
Of course. Yeah. It's interesting because like startups like Gymshark, Under Armour, all these things, when they started, they invested a ton into what could be perceived as brands. So building community, building brand, where they were not in a financial position to really afford that fully. They could because they had funding and all these things. But it seems like it's a way to jumpstart all these other people who are just focused on making a payback on 7 days on your ads or whatever it is.
Ideally, you need to do a bit of both.
Yeah.
The 7-day ads still get your brand out there, still generate you sales and buy you time to do some of the other stuff. The ideal mixture is a bit of both. Even large corporations, they still do a bit of both. They don't do all branding. They do a ton of performance. If they didn't do a ton of performance, Google and Facebook wouldn't be as big as they are. And they are as big as they are because it works. And people like, you spend $1, you make $2 tomorrow.
Awesome. And let's assume that in the future, let's say 5 years, where we could assume that we can have some major impact of all this AI stuff. Uh-huh. In my vision, I'm thinking that I'll have like some type of like Siri interface. I'll be able to chat like, hey, I want to buy a chair. Here's what I'm looking for. Can you help me buy a chair? And there's no links, there's no results, there's just like nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like what people like me like in chairs, it recommends to me. So do you think that is something that can happen? And do you think there's anything that businesses should do to start to think about that? Or is like not even just worth thinking?
I think it can happen, it will happen, it won't happen in the next year or two. For that to happen, it has to be a mind reader. It has to analyze all your existing purchases, what you like, what you dislike. There's a lot of variables. And then if you're buying stuff that's new and cutting edge, how does it have data on what you would like or don't like? But I believe the world will go there. It's just a question of time. The big thing that will help it get there faster is having your data and analyzing it. But then you get into data rights and privacy, and are these platforms able to do that, or are they not able to do that? And then as marketers, you'll start optimizing. Just like you can optimize for voice search, there's only one answer. You can still do optimization for voice search. It's the same will go for AI. You'll have to optimize, and it'll be winner take all. I think we're a long ways away from that, but that's, I believe, how it will be. And you have to remember, you as a consumer, a lot of times when you're looking for stuff to buy, you don't know what you want to buy, and you're browsing as well, and you want to see options. I don't think for every scenario, it'll only be where there's one option and you just buy that.
Best thing would be predictive. Like it already, like I didn't sleep well at night, and it just says, hey, I recommend you buy this thing, so you measure your sleep or like whatever the heck. And I don't even like, because it will take me weeks to understand like, what do I need? Is there a bracelet for that? Or like,
but for a lot of those things to happen, a lot of the world and a lot of technology and a lot of different channels and mediums have to all be connected together.
Which there won't really.
I don't know if they won't. I think we're just far away from it.
Got it. Super. And when you're looking at all that's happening with data and regulation and people being very careful, especially in Europe about this, do you think this in the long term will impact just paid advertising in general?
Of course, I think it'll impact it, but I don't see it going away. I still see these platforms generating as much money from paid advertising, if not more in the future. It's more so that I believe in the long run, it'll move to a CPA model. Oh, we just made you this sale, pay us. And there'll also be cost per click models. I think it'll be a hybrid, but depending on the keyword, the behavior type of, how people expect the results to be, you're going to see a lot of different variations.
Awesome, good. So that's on the marketing side. But on the business side, from obviously you guys work with corporates, I think you have an SMB division. You do, right?
But it's still all companies. Most of our revenue comes from large corporations.
Or like maybe 80%, just because of the sheer volume of the budgets.
Correct.
What have you seen in terms of, especially when it comes to SMBs, that winning companies have that just make marketing a lot easier and they just have, could be...
Good product, good service, and fast execution.
That's it?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter B2B, B2C, all these
There's
things.
a lot of other elements in a business and a success, but you need a good product or good service, and you need to be able to execute. Those are really important things. If I had to pick a third, I would say a big TAM. A small business is only going to be small unless their TAM, which is total addressable market, is large. There's only so many people that want to buy $1,000, I'm making this up, $1,000 white polo t-shirts with the mesh that are long sleeve with velvet lining on the collar. Again, I'm making it up, but there's not a ton of people that want to buy it. There's a lot more people that want to buy shoes or shirts or just anything generic like that, right? The bigger the market you go after, the better off you're going to be.
I think you said in the interview with a guy named Ryan Pinata, I think I'm butchering his last name. It was in Vegas. It was mentioning some example of like product Cardi B, I think, created, like some whipped cream vodka.
Whipped cream with vodka. This is like how many people want to buy whipped cream vodka or vodka infused
like
whipped
the intersection of those two circles is
yeah,
very, very small.
This is really small.
Yeah. And
Cardi B is smart for building that following. She would just make way more money focusing on a bigger market.
Yeah, I do think that product was a joke though, but I would
no, it's not
hope
a joke.
so.
It's
I would
a real
hope it was
business.
a joke.
No, it's not a joke. Real business.
But probably not making any revenue. So
it makes revenue. It's just not that big.
Comparable to what she could be making if she
Correct.
would address something with a big total addressable market. Got it.
And something that her audience wants. I don't know what Cardi B is known for. I'm guessing music or something like that. But she may be known for something else, right? Like a Kardashian, a lot of times, like Kylie Jenner, known for hair extensions or lip stuff or whatever. So she created a beauty company. Makes sense for her, right? So Cardi B has to figure out what people know her for other than music. I think she does music. I don't know what Cardi B does, but let's go with music.
She does music.
Okay.
It's fascinating that you don't know what Cardi B does.
So let's go with music, and she needs something else other than music. It's hard to sell stuff for music.
Yeah.
People are already going to buy her soundtrack or album or whatever it is called.
Yeah. And talking about Cardi B and influencers in general, I know everyone is very aware of like Kardashians, Cardi B, all this like they're big ones. But in terms of influencer marketing, I in my opinion, this is very underutilized by companies. I'm not sure why, mostly because all of them want to do performance deals with these people and it doesn't always work.
A lot of them will
what
spend
do you think
money.
about this?
Most of these influencers have ridiculous prices that don't make sense. Corporations don't want to take the time to manually reach out to like 1,000 influencers. And the real ROI is in micro influencers, and it takes a lot more effort. And companies don't want to build out the teams or deal with the headache to deal with 1,000 different people and write a ton of small checks. And then you got to get PR and legal involved and different departments because you want to be careful on who says what, and it just creates a lot of bureaucracy.
Which creators don't like because they don't want to be like
Correct.
put in boxes.
Correct.
But do you think this is like an underutilized opportunity for most companies?
Huge underutilized opportunity, massive ROI.
And what would if I would own an e-commerce that does 20 million a year in revenue or 5 million a year in revenue, what do you think would be an actionable way to tap into this? Any sort of platform, website, or just like have an
just
agency?
Hit up thousands of influencers within your space that are micro influencers that are known within your industry that can promote your product.
offering them a deal, offering them free product,
whatever you can negotiate, track the ROI, and then from there fine tune. The big key element that people make the mistake on is they pay the influencer to promote. The influencer drives them to their website, and then it's an ugly transition. You got to have the influencer on your website, on the landing page, talking about the product. It needs to be a congruent experience, or else the conversions just suck.
And talking about, for example, I look at you as an influencer that has created several businesses, but see, there's a personal brand, there's several businesses next to you, similar to what these guys are doing. They may be like teaching people about survival or nails or makeup or whatever.
Yeah.
Most of them are not business people like you. It's actually very rare. These creators are actually business people in general.
A lot of them are shockingly business people, in a good way. I've actually met more of them that have turned into business people than that aren't.
Really?
The bigger issue why most people don't see many of them is they go after really small TAMs. If you're not in a big TAM, you're just not going to make as much money.
So if you would be on the other side, being an influencer, let's say...
or they're in something that's too generic, like coffee. Like, oh, let me test a ton of coffee. Well, good luck competing against Starbucks. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a hard, tough market to penetrate. And it requires a lot of capital.
Do you think these people should hire like kind of business managers or CEO or COOs types of people to do all this, or just like figure it out?
You got to figure it out on your own at the beginning, unless you have a really, really massive following like a Kardashian, or even it could be smaller than that. But I would have them first figure out what their audience is interested in that they can sell. They gotta. You can't just hire a CEO or a business person and they just all figure out everything and you magically wave a wand and you make money. You ideally want to be involved and work with your audience to figure out what they want that you think is best for them, that you're also an expert in, or you can do an amazing job of fulfilling, and then go from there. Look, Kim Kardashian has created a lot of products over the years and a lot have failed. Does that mean she's a failure? No. Shoe Dazzle didn't work out. That was her line where you subscribe for shoes. Cody bought one of her beauty companies for $200 million and then it eventually got shut down, and then she created a new beauty company. You know, not everything works out the way that you want. Kim is still a success. She's a crazy, amazing success. But the point I'm getting at is, just because you have a following doesn't mean that anything you touch turns into gold. It takes a lot of effort and trial and error. Someone like Kim Kardashian isn't just having a business manager do everything. She's heavily involved, you know. She's in the business grinding every single day. Don't let reality TV fool you. I don't think she tries to make she doesn't try to make the perception that she's not involved. She's definitely involved, and she works her tail off. Yeah,
I love Kim, by the way. I think she's a business genius, in my opinion, and the whole family is like crazy, and it's like absolutely crazy business acumen. The perspective I was asking this from is, there's of course the big musicians and singers and whatever, but for example, I know like a sleep expert who created a pillow and is doing, I think, $5 million a year in profit, just like creating a pillow, and he doesn't even have a massive following.
But pillows are a massive market, and more importantly, sleeping is a massive market. Everyone sleeps or wants to sleep or needs to sleep.
Yeah. But as I know, a lot of my agent friends, like CAA and all this stuff, a lot of products just flop completely because they don't do what you just said, which is like just ask people what they want and just offer it to them instead of like creating whatever the heck the creator wants, Correct. Which is really an artist move. Like, here's my painting, buy it or not. But
I know a lot of people at CAA. Most of the celebrities come to them saying, I want a business and I want to do this.
Yeah.
The issue is they want to do the wrong business.
Yeah. Awesome. So personal branding, last couple of questions before I let you go, so you can rest a little bit before you fly out to the other side of the world. I think you're one of the kind of like top 0.1% of like personal brands in the world. I'm curious from
I would say like the celebrities and athletes are.
I would say from having an influence in your topic.
Sure, yes.
0. Because yeah, sure.
Right? Like I do not have the reach of Messi or Ronaldo.
Of course.
Yeah.
From the TAM that you have.
Correct. And my TAM is very massive. Marketing is a big, massive market.
Yes. Though you could say your TAM would be like mostly digital marketing, but not so much traditional marketing where maybe other people are, but it's a massive TAM.
Well, you have to remember, traditional advertising is all moving to digital.
Slowly, but it is. Not, I think fastly now.
It depends which country.
Correct. And which type of segment of company and all these things. Correct.
But it all moved to digital. It's just a question of what.
Cool. So for people that are like 10 years behind you, because you started all the way like back with SEO, which was the thing then.
Yeah.
What would you say if there's people that want to build a personal brand in whatever the topic is, like sleep, plants, design, interior design, whatever the heck it is, could be singers would be like entertainment, so that's different. But what do you think is a game plan for them to look at? Could be as tactical or strategic as you want.
So forget a game plan. There's not one approach that is right or wrong. The real concept that most of them have to take is you have to take an omni-channel approach. At the event I was just at, I asked the audience, how many of you are on Facebook? How many of you are on Instagram? And I went through all the platforms. Almost everyone raised their hand for most of them. Some of them, like Twitter, not as many people raised their hand. But for majority of the platforms, almost everyone raised their hand. People use all platforms these days. You gotta be omni-channel. All the platforms end up becoming competitive. It's just a question of when. So you gotta be on all the platforms. That's the only way to succeed and do really well. In marketing, it's called the rule of 7. When someone sees or interacts with your brand 7 times, they're much more likely to evangelize it, purchase from it, tell other people about it. And with the algorithms not always favoring you, if you post something on Facebook, majority of your followers will not see it. Same with Instagram, same with Twitter, same with TikTok and LinkedIn, and same with YouTube. So what's the solution? You gotta be omni-channel. You gotta leverage all the channels. You gotta create amazing, unique content. You got to try to do in-person events. You got to do interviews even when you're tired and jet lagged like this. You got to do a bit of everything. That's the only way to really do well. It's a grind. It's not what people want to hear, but it's the reality. And you got to do it for many years. You're not going to be the next overnight sensation. Kim Kardashian wasn't an overnight success. All these years of hard work before she popped. No one really thinks about that.
Were you always like have so much confidence in this? Like when you were writing blogs in 2005?
No. I did it because I started writing because I loved it. I blogged and I helped people because I loved it. I still love it. I do these interviews because I love it, right? If I do talks because I love it, not for the money. And when you look at a lot of this stuff, the amount of people I'll reach from this, I don't mean in a bad way, is nowhere near the amount of people I'll reach from just writing a blog post and sending out an email blast. But not everything in life needs to be about marketing or money. If you love what you're doing, to me, that's priceless. And I also appreciate at the same time, people like you taking the time to interview me. You don't have to reach out. You don't have to interview me. You can interview tons of other amazing people in Romania or wherever in the world. Like you guys have amazing company here called UiPath, which I'm assuming everyone in Romania knows about, right? It was an amazing success. It still is, and it will still grow. And I think it'll wildly grow to even much bigger company over time. But the point I'm getting at is you got to do what you love, and you got to not just do something for marketing or branding or business or money. If you don't enjoy something, the passion won't be there and you won't do as well in the long run.
So final thought on this, and we'll end with this. This is a great ending. Do you in your life think like, is it 100% of your life right now doing things that you love? Fundamentally, of course, it could be uncomfortable in the moment. 100%.
Almost 100%, close enough. Some things there's a lot of stuff I do that I don't like. I don't like cleaning up all the rice that my kids throw on the ground when they eat, but
you do love your kids, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and then you got to teach them the concept of you can't waste food. You know how many people are starving in this world, right? And then I started showing my kids pictures of other kids that are starving, and I'm like, we should help them. And then my kids thought it was a game of show me starving kids. You have to keep in mind they're at that time when I was showing them 1 and 3. Now they're almost 2 and almost 4, but they're still really young and they don't understand all these concepts. My daughter now understands the concept of when I used to travel, she would ask me for toys. I'm like, how about I donate toys and get stuff for people in that country that need it instead of buying you more toys that you don't need. She understands that now.
At 4.
And now she just asks me to write her notes. like say like, oh, write a thank you note, or like, I miss you note, or like something like that. There's no proper name for it. So I usually buy postcards wherever I travel, and I wrote a note to my daughter.
That's so beautiful, especially considering you waste so much time from your
Yeah,
family,
and
which
then
must
she'll
be
save
difficult.
them, and then hopefully when she gets older, she'll have all the postcards.
Yeah. Final question. Considering you have this amazing family, kids, and you could be considered as like relatively very wealthy from like all perspectives. I actually don't know numbers, but I'm assuming. What is your approach on making sure you get what you figured out with life, which is doing what you love, being very successful at it, impacting people? How are you going to get that to your children in any significant way? Is there any
trick for other people to get it, is what you're asking?
No. How do you see transferring what you figured out about life to your kids?
I'll teach them over time, all the things, right? But what most people don't realize in life is to get what you want, you got to do a lot of what you don't want. It's very rare that you can just wake up and do what you want. You got to spend a lot of times grinding it out and doing all the ugly, boring stuff and dirty stuff that no one wants you to do. Like I picked up trash for so many years and cleaned toilets.
Like literal trash?
Yeah, little trash in toilets. It was dirty. Did it. We got to do it. People need restrooms, right? The point I'm getting at is you got to do a lot of stuff that you don't want to do in life to get to where you want to get. And most people aren't willing to make that sacrifice. And hopefully my kids are willing to make the sacrifice, because I'm not going to give them any money. They can go earn it on their own. Yeah, the structure of the trust fund, it's a different conversation, but that's a very interesting topic, I think. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you everyone for watching. We're going to have links to everything and all this. And for now, we'll get your time to be able to rest. And
Sounds good.
And thank you so much. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.